Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eryk Anders, and you're listening to the BBYK podcast.
What's up, Internet? This is Viet Duan, and welcome back to another edition of Face the Facts, a series where we interview professional athletes and ask them the tough questions donks like Luke Thomas are too busy suing Dairy Queen to ask. Now, some people ask us, where does your source of immense confidence come from? Easy. Hard work, eating clean, and wearing Sex Panther. Honestly, 60% of the time, that is 100% all it takes. This is Face the Facts, and we promote true investigative podcasting. We ask the hard-hitting questions like, do you skip leg day? We know our tenaciousness might scare off some people, which is why we respect anyone that comes onto our show. Which brings us to this episode's guest, a former collegiate football star and undefeated middleweight, Eryk Anders. We talk about traveling the world, his journey from football to MMA, and betting on Conor to land that one punch. It was great talking to him. Enjoy. All right, we are joined by undefeated middleweight, Eryk Anders. What's up, Eryk?
Ain't nothing much, man. Just in here putting in a little work to get these last few pounds off.
All right, we're going to be getting to your fight shortly. Your story is very unique, especially your path to MMA. So let's just get right into unpacking it. Your mother was in the Air Force, so you were a bit of a globetrotter growing up. What was that like?
Man, I feel like I was very fortunate to have a mother in the military. You know, we moved around quite a bit, about every 3 years or so. So I got to live and see and absorb different cultures, visit different places, and I got still got friends from all over the world and whatnot. So very eye-opening experience that a lot of people on this planet just aren't fortunate enough to get.
It probably gives you a much different perspective than than a lot of us. What were some of the fun places that you got to live?
Japan and the Philippines, Korea. I didn't actually live in Korea, but we visited Korea, and then all over the United States.
Yeah, I know you lived in D.C. briefly. Is that correct?
Yeah, we lived in right out there in Southern Maryland.
Okay, yeah, we're actually up here in D.C. What were your impressions of the nation's capital?
Oh, I loved it. A lot of historical monuments and whatnot. Great place to visit. Not really sure if I want to live there, with all the traffic and the heavy population and whatnot. I like to kind of get where I'm going when I want to get there and not have to spend most of the trip in the car. So other than that, though, it's great, man. A lot of places to go run, places to see, different cultures. You can see a lot of different stuff out there in D.C.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. DC has a lot of fun places to go visit, but that traffic, it kills you.
Yeah, they can have it.
Commute is not fun. You ended up in Texas. Now, I'm originally from Texas, very fond of the Lone Star State. You got into football there, as you know firsthand. Football is basically a religion down in Texas.
Oh, yeah. I tell people that we were on that block schedule in high school, so the third period of every day, we would go down there, put on pads, watch film, have practice, go to lunch, go to our last class, and come back and practice again. So every day for me was 2 days.
You went on, you had an incredible collegiate career at Alabama, highlighted by a tremendous game, the BCS championship game, where Alabama beat Texas. Afterwards, you signed as a free agent with the Browns. It felt like, I think you said in one of the interviews, you had this itch. You wanted to continue competing, and if it wasn't this, you wanted to find something else. Tell us a little bit, how did that something else become MMA?
Yeah, I got on with Cleveland, got cut, went to Canada, had a brief career there. Ended up getting cut, played a year of arena ball, and then just, I realized I didn't love football itself like I thought I did. And if it wasn't the NFL playing at the highest level, I think it was the level of competition that I missed. So if it wasn't the NFL, which I felt like I was capable of playing, I didn't want to play at all. So, I moved, came back to Alabama, did the 9 to 5 thing, worked various jobs, was just tremendously unsatisfied with life. Walked into a gym, started training, and fell in love with the sport.
Now, you didn't exactly grow up with a martial arts background, but you did do a little wrestling in high school, right?
Yeah, I have a JV level experience wrestling.
I mean, you came into the sport a little bit later than other people get into the sport. I want to get into the mental aspect of the game really quickly. You have said that just being a competitor, having trained in other sports, it sort of gives you this general preparedness when it comes to the work ethic you need, the drive you need to succeed in MMA. Now, you had this quote. You said that MMA is the pure sport, and I would agree with that. But what did you mean by that?
Well, like sports like wrestling, MMA, jiu-jitsu, single-person sports, I feel like truly reveals who you really are. I've seen plenty of guys in the NFL, college, high school, and at every level of football who, they pretended to be a tough guy, but deep down in their soul, they were really soft. And you would see it in some plays where they made an attempt. They made it look like they attempted to make a tackle or to make a catch, or when the game's on the line, they don't quite get the job done. And you can hide yourself among other people. There's 22 other people out there or 21 other people out there on the field with you in a football game. So you can kind of hide in between plays or act like you made a mistake or whatever. If you try that in wrestling or MMA, jiu-jitsu, boxing, anything like that, it's not going to work out well for you.
Now, obviously, there's a lot of preparation, physical preparation. There's a lot of mental preparation. You do a lot of film study before you ever step into the cage. You had this other quote that I also found really unique, and I want to talk about it. You said that you can do a lot of this preparation, but when you get into the ring, it's almost like you turn off your brain. You let the fight come to you. What do you mean by this?
Man, I've repped out the game plan and enhanced my skills so much to the point when, it's game time per se, when it's fight time, when that cage door closes and the ref tells you to fight, I'm just reading my opponent and whatever he gives me, I'm ready to go. Even if he throws a new wrinkle, which, I'm sure most fighters do. In between fights, they get better and, they add a new wrinkle to their game, so they're not going to be the same fighter they were the fight before. But, I really just don't overthink it and just kind of take it as it comes and, get the fight where I want it. And that varies depending on the opponent. But, just dominate the fight and just react off of what they're giving me.
It brings me to my next point. I think this kind of makes you unique when it comes to fighters in general. I think a lot of people, they want to have a certain identity. So when you ask a guy, what would you say is your style of fighting, or how would you describe yourself in the ring? They might say something like, "Oh, I'm a counter striker, a grappler, a pressure fighter." They have these different things that this is what defines them. This is what they do when they're in a cage. And you kind of take a page out of Bruce Lee's handbook. You say you want to be adaptable. You got to be ready for all these different types of situations. So you don't like to label yourself as a certain type of fighter. In fact, you said if you had to describe yourself as a fighter, you would say your style of fighting is simply winner.
Absolutely. Because, guys who are just dependent on one specific aspect of the game, whether it be the striking, the ground, or the clinch, if you get in there with somebody who isn't letting you get to where you want to get to, you see a lot of guys kind of hit that panic button, and it kind of flusters them, and it kind of causes them to gas out later on in the fight. I just, if this is what I want and they're not giving it to me, that's fine. I can go to this. If that doesn't work, I'll go to that. And I got several aces up my sleeve. It just so happens that none of my opponents so far have made me show anything but a little bit of wrestling in the left hand.
The higher weight classes, you go middleweight up, the bigger guys, you're obviously a bigger guy. I think sometimes it's harder to fill up those weight divisions, at least right now in MMA, because the sport is still so young. Most bigger athletes, they go into sports like you did, football. Now, when you were playing football, you played at about 240, 250. What is your typical walking weight at now?
If I hit 225, it's time for me to start reevaluating my my diet and nutrition and whatnot. But typically around 220.
I mean, you're a middleweight, so you fight at 185. What's a typical cut for you at the beginning of camp?
Well, I don't really have camps. I just, I train year round, 6 days a week, sometimes 7. I really don't have a camp. The only thing that changes is the intensity of my training. I might add some cardio sessions. I probably cut out the weights, But as far as like mitt work, jiu-jitsu, boxing, Muay Thai, all that, I do all that, 3-4 times a day anyways, whether I got a fight coming up or not.
All right, so you're fighting this Friday. Where are you at weight-wise right now?
This morning I woke up at about 200, so, I got about, probably about, 6 or 7 pounds left to go. I'll probably call it a day here in a little bit.
And where are you training at?
Right now I'm at a Paradigm Training Center out here in Houston. But I live in Birmingham and train at Spartan Fitness.
Okay. Now, I think this comes with your football background, but you are very quick to point out that even though one person goes into the cage, it takes a team to prepare them and get them there. So why don't you tell us a little bit about some of these teammates, if you will, that have helped prepare you to get you to this fight?
Well, Omar Johnson has been a huge training partner for me. He's really, really good at boxing, coming off an injury, and I actually think that his striking has gotten better since he got injured. He's got a lot of time to break down film and kind of get mental reps. So I think that's helped him a lot. We got a big heavyweight named Kim Odie, who hits like a truck and is big and heavy. Matt Elkins, collegiate wrestler, really good grappler. And then, the list goes on and on and on. There's about a good 15 of us, Billy Joe Bradshaw, close-knit family, Chef Dansby, that get in there and mix it up every Wednesday and Saturday.
You've said in interviews before, you talk about how Nick Saban, your coach while you were at Alabama, he helped influence you as an athlete. What have you taken from his coaching that you can still apply to mixed martial arts?
He articulated a lot of things. Like, he put a lot of things into words that, I didn't necessarily put into words and just, kind of went with it, growing up. But the main thing that he stresses is the process, right? You can't rush things. You can have a Ford or you can have a Mercedes. If you just rush it and, put it together cheaply or whatever, boom. It's not a very good car. I'm not saying that Ford, that's probably a poor example, but you know what I mean. You could rush the process. The process yields the result. So if you cut corners, if you try to make it a sprint instead of a marathon, you're going to come up short every time. So take your time. Know the Rome wasn't built in a day, and that this is a lifestyle. It's not a game. You have to live, eat, and breathe MMA if you want to succeed at the highest levels. And with football too, if you're cutting corners, if you're not in there watching film, you're not lifting weights, you're not in condition to, play ball for, 60 minutes or longer, then, you're really setting yourself up for failure with teams like Louisiana Monroe or Arkansas, or teams that on paper you're supposed to beat, but you fall short because you didn't, cross your T's and dot your I's, so to speak. And that is definitely true in mixed martial arts.
Now, you fought in Bellator before. They're hosting a big pay-per-view event in New York this Saturday. Now, I know you've spoken about Matt Mitrione in the past as a guy that's sort of, he went the path that you're journeying on right now, as a guy that went from football, went into MMA. He's going to be on that card fighting the legendary Fedor. Now, I know you have a fight on Friday, but are you planning on checking out that card?
Maybe. It depends. My wife and, kids and friends and family will be here, so I'm sure I'll be out and about doing other stuff. But if I'm at home, I'll check it out. If not, then I'm sure the highlights will be on Twitter or something.
All right, let's get to your fight. You are going to be main eventing the LFA 14 down in Houston, Texas. And yes, for our listeners out there, this also happens to be the debut for Sage's sister, Colby Northcutt. You are going to be going against Brendan Allen for the middleweight title. Now, Brendan he has a professional record of 7-1. He last fought in February, got the TKO victory over John Kirk. Now, this is something that the two of you have in common. You actually are coming off of a victory over John yourself in March. How do you envision this fight going?
I think all I got to do is go out there and perform like I usually do, and go out there and get a first round victory.
All right, we're gonna go into the speed round really quick. I'm gonna ask you a couple quick questions. Who would win in a fight, a tiger or a bear?
Bear.
All right. What is one thing that you screwed up on, but no one ever found out about?
Oh, I can't tell you that. Then everybody will find out.
Fair enough. If you could meet one celebrity, who would they be?
Probably Johnny Depp.
Why is that?
Just because I think he's, a super articulate, creative, funny guy. He can play any character, from a cop to a villain to, somebody sinister to, what's the guy with the Mad Hatter, Mm-hmm. So I just think that his range, he has a really wide range of characters that he could play, and I think that he'd probably be an interesting guy to hang around with.
All right. What is your favorite movie?
Braveheart.
Oh, that's a good one. I love Braveheart.
And Pulp Fiction. They're 1 and 2.
Oh man, both classics. Prediction: who is winning the Super Bowl next year?
Man, I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna go with the Raiders.
The Raiders, really?
Yeah. I think the Marshawn Lynch is a great addition. I think their defense is on top of their game right now. Carr is only getting better. Amari Cooper is a phenomenal athlete.
Oh yeah, Cooper's a beast, and it'll be so great to have beast mode back in the NFL. Got one last question for you. What are your thoughts on Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather?
Boxing experience versus a guy who's an Olympic bronze medalist, 49-0, and hits but doesn't get hit. If he was a brawler, if it was McGregor-Pacquiao, I would go with McGregor. But, Floyd's not a brawler. He's not going to let Conor hit him. And Conor's cardio has been suspect at times. So, we'll see what happens. I'm putting my money on Conor just in the, slight chance that he does. He only got to get lucky once,
For sure. I think a lot of people have that. His numbers are actually trending back towards Floyd's numbers. I think it started off, he was plus 700 or something like that. And then now he's only
800.
Yeah, and to your point, I think a lot of people are going to be betting on Conor to land that one punch on Mayweather and then just collect that windfall, make that McGregor money. All right, guys, this June 23rd, LFA 14 live down in Houston. You can catch it on Access TV. It'll start at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It will be headlined by my man right here, Eryk Anders, against Brendan Allen for the middleweight title. You'll want to catch this one. Eryk, you are an undefeated fighter, and if you keep making short work of your opponents, I'm sure we're going to be hearing so much more from you in the future. I wish you all the best in your upcoming fight. It was such a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for coming on the show, my friend.
Hey, appreciate it, brother. Anytime.
We want to thank Eryk again for coming on the show, and best wishes to him in his upcoming matchup. We got a lot of MMA for all of you fans this weekend. Starting off on Friday with LFA 14, then we got the big Bellator New York card on Saturday, and then we cap it off with UFC OKC on Sunday. And since the combat sports world is in such a spectacle fights kind of mood lately, if you're very interested, you can also check out that Cody Garbrandt versus Matthew Klein Cater fight that will be happening live at Team Alpha Male Gym. Maybe. We always love to hear from you, so if you have something to say, Tell us in the comments section below, or you can tweet at me at FaceTheFacts22. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And for the latest and greatest in all things BBYK, why don't you go on and hit that subscribe button? And until next time, we are the Bros, you know.